everybody, welcome back to Waffles RC. We are back on the 10th scale big rig. A lot planned in this video, hopefully. But first I want to say a couple of things. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for the comments. It's so positive in the comment section and I absolutely love it. So thank you all very much. So the second thing I want to say is thank you to Troy for sending me and making tire inserts. He made these on his 3D printer. Yes, he has a 3D printer, unlike me. But these are not your average ones that you can get off the internet, because I gave him exact dimensions of my tire size, rim size, bead lock, everything, and he printed them out, and they are very stiff, which is perfect for this truck because I don't want the tires to be super soft. This thing's going to handle a lot of weight, including itself. And if you've watched to the end of any of the videos, or to a few of them at least, you'll know what this thing currently weighs. I'll do a final weigh-in at the end, but at the end of every couple of videos, I've been weighing them. So, just saying, maybe you should watch to the end. So, with these, it'll take the tire from looking like this, then we add this in here instead of the concoction that I have in there, to looking like this. As you can see, very little cushion, which is what I wanted. I wanted them stiff, and he told me that he could make them stiff with a little bit of play, or he can make them soft. I wanted them stiff, so that is perfect. I also put one in here, and it's the same thing. This one, too squishy. This one, absolutely perfect. So basically went from these to, well, you can't see them, they're in the tire now, but that is exactly what I wanted. So thank you very much, Troy. So I don't have to run this anymore. And for you guys, you can email him right here and you can ask him if he can make things. You give him an example of what you want, then you give him the measurements and he can probably make it for you. So I'm sure he's quite talented, considering I gave him a good number of measurements for these and they were perfectly spot on. So I had to use a tape measure and he compensated for that. So thank you, Troy. So let's get back to this thing. So what are we going to be doing to this today, you may be asking? Well, let's open that up. And then if we lift this up, yes, we will see we have motors and a steering servo. As you can see, I have two motors. They are the 2-in-1 crawler motors because I want torque, because this thing's gonna need it. And I really like the Spectrum stuff. So does that fly, apparently. We are going to put these onto the transmission, steering servo from Amazon as usual, onto the axle, get a receiver in here, program it up, and drive it. At least that's the end goal for today. But first, before we do all that, we have a few more things that I need to get done before I put those in. So I'll show you what I want to do before I put the motors in. So before I put these motors onto the transmission, all of this business where you can see everything, it's not going to work for me. I need places to put electronics, you know, power buttons, all sorts of fun stuff. So what we're going to do is just get metal, sheet metal basically, cover all this up so that we have a platform for all the electronics to sit on. So once I get all that done, then we'll get the motors in and try to drive this thing. So as you see, I just welded a piece of metal in here and did this cover, which I drilled so that way I can screw it on, so that way it's removable to be able to work on stuff. But I want to be able to put it on correctly. I want it there to protect all the electronics and everything, give them something to sit on so that the drive shafts don't tangle up wires. So now we're going to do the fun part. Motors. had to change the plugs on the motor or to match the plugs on the batteries. So, you know, avoiding warranties everywhere we go. So now I can try and turn this all on, hopefully. I'm not very good at soldering, so we'll see how this goes. Here's the other battery. Why do I put stuff everywhere that I don't need it? Nothing's on fire, so we're doing good so far. Oh, those plugged in the wrong ones. Let's try that again. That works. Alright, I think I have to figure this out. Okay, after quite a bit of time and Googling, it finally works. So, both motors are spinning in the correct direction. You'd have to reverse one of the motors. It's a mess, but I think I got it working. Well, it's working correctly. So, I'm not an expert. So, take this all with a grain of salt, because I figured out how to do this via the internet. So basically what was happening was I would power one on and the other one would start beeping, and I have no idea what that meant. Did a bunch of reading. Come to find out, if you're using a Y splitter like I have to run both of them, you have to cut the positive wire, which is the red wire on this jumper, or the Y splitter. You have to cut this to one of them. Why? I don't know, but I cut it and now it works. So I'm going to clean up this spaghetti mess that is my truck as of right now, and I want to drive it. So let's see it drive. Morning, everybody. It is the next day. As you saw from the videos, had a little bit too much fun with this thing. Because of my exuberance of wanting to drive this thing yesterday, a few things did go wrong. Because unlike other YouTube channels, I'm going to point out exactly everything that went wrong, because nothing ever goes perfectly when it comes to hand building your own anything. Car, RC, whatever. Nothing ever goes perfectly. So let's go over the stuff. Okay, so first issue with all of it was figuring out those two to get them to work together. That was that, but got that figured out. This tab for the control arm broke off. This control arm for this axle came off. This drive shaft came off. That drive shaft came off. And, oh yeah, most importantly, that wheel came off. That was funny though. Hopefully I got it on film. And all of this is, that wheel shouldn't turn. So the lesson to be learned from that is, don't let your excitement outweigh your common sense and judgment. I shouldn't have taken this thing driving, let alone pulling myself out in the street. You live and you learn. And in my case, I let my excitement get the better of me, and I just kept fixing it every time it broke. But we'll get that all taken care of once final assembly of everything is done. I still have to take everything off of this. I got to go through all the axles, the transmission, the transfer cases. I got to Loctite, grease everything. I got to fully weld out the frame so that stuff doesn't keep breaking off. But we are going to move on. First thing I'm going to do is take the motors off of here because we know that they work and I don't need them in my way. Then the next step will be, we already done that, so now it's time to work on that. So let's get the motors out. All right, motors are out. That's all relatively cleaned up, good to go. So what we're going to do now is all back here. And to start doing that, we need our fifth wheel hitch. You can see right here, got it off Amazon. It is for the 14 scale, but I think it'll be fine. I have to find a spot to put it properly, which I'm thinking I'm going to do about right here. Got to get it centered, and once that is on, then we can start building the frame for the Zacklift. And there you have it, fifth wheel hitch. Just made some tabs here and here, bolted it through, and we have a fifth wheel hitch. So now we have to get started making the frame for our Zacklift idea. So I got to figure that out. So I have the fifth wheel off the truck, and no matter where I search, I can't find the hitch to go into it. My assumption is that they come on the trailers and that's all you get. So made my own. You just wham bam, lock it in. Perfect. So now I know how to do it for the trailer that is going to be made for this thing. So all I did was I took this rod, which I'll put right here what size it is because I can't remember right now. Put a nut on one end, drilled it out, drilled the threads out, put the nut on it, welded it, then drilled through the plate, welded it to the plate, so that way everything is nice and smooth for the fifth wheel hitch. So now that we have this, start making a frame for it basically. Just need this to cool down a bit more so it can sit on this while I make a frame for it. And this piece right here is going to get covered by everything, so I don't care if it doesn't look that great because it's going to be under everything, hopefully. Here's a basic frame layout. So this will go up onto here just like so. It's got a bed. So now what I have to do, as you see, I've already drilled some holes. I'm going to be welding these little bolts here into there. And then I'm going to put a piece on the frame here. There will be two of them. And I'll put a piece on the frame here, match the holes up, get it level, and basically that'll be the locking to lock it into place along with the fifth wheel, and just have some wing nuts. Here's the bed, as you saw in the time lapse. Well, you didn't see that part in the time lapse, but have the bolts right here, Got this that stays on the truck. Then you just drive into it, lock this in, bam. Once you put wing nuts on there. Next part, the boom. Gotta make it tilt like that. So gonna make some brackets, drill a hole through this, put a bolt through so that way it can pivot up and down like it needs to. Here's the bed platform, and here is our boom. As you can see, it goes up and down, so it's what it needs to do. So the goal is to try and make it look like this, at least close enough to it. I don't know how close I'm going to get to that, but we'll see. See how good I can get there. So now I have to take the boom back off, cut a little pie out of it, bend it down to reach down, but I also need it on the truck. There's a lot of things that have to happen to get it down. Now, this isn't going to have the outreach, or sorry, the extending that the Zacklift actually has. It's just gonna fold down and then lift up and down. The going in and out, I don't know how to make that work. I'm sure somebody out there is going to tell me how to do it, but I'm only really willing to go so far with this thing. It's going to be a wheel lift, or in this case an axle lift, and it's just going to be solid. Try to make it rotate maybe. Well, I need to, because it needs to be able to turn. It's just getting more complicated the more I think about it, but I will make it work. Gonna interrupt everything for a quick minute and just do a quick little PSA. If you're using a grinder or a cutoff wheel and you're using your body to shield the sparks from going on your car or your wife's car, you might want to pay attention to if you feel warm. So be safe. Don't be me. I'm not overly proud of what I just did, and babe, I'm sorry. Back to work. Okay, so some time has passed. I don't know where I left you guys off at. I'll find out when I edit this, but I'll show you where I'm at now. I had one of those moments where I was focused, I was making progress, then I didn't make progress, then I made progress. Either way, this is where we're at now. So the main boom, have this upper piece for the rams to connect to that. There's a bolt on the other side as well. Then down here, you'll see the extended part of the boom that will go under a truck, and it folds up. Yes, I see that. No, this is not in its final place, because I'm gonna drive around basically like that if I feel like it. So it'll fold out, come down, go down lower to then lift up the other RC, and then we'll tow it away. The rear frame is going to have to get shortened, so unfortunately it's going to get too short. But anyhow, what I'm going to do now is mock up these rams and then figure out what the heck I'm going to do over here, because I haven't really gotten that far yet. Okay, getting close to the end of this video because stuff has happened. Let me show you. Okay, first I guess I'll show you. Here are the rams for lifting the boom, and this is the lower piece, and the ram is inside somewhat inside. It's kind of inside and outside. So I have this really cheap servo tester that doesn't really work very well, or I'm just not wiring it up correctly. But watch. Okay, so that boom arm then, because this thing's not working correctly or I'm not working it correctly, either way, just reverse the polarity real quick. Come back down here. Oh, it's so awesome. Okay, now if I do it correctly, so now the main boom. Oh, nope, I do not have it correctly. What's backwards? I'd say we're going to be able to pick up a crawler, that's for sure. I have this all up really high too, because this can't fold up when the truck is all the way on the ground. This has to be up, and I can only control them, you know, one at a time. Reverse the polarities. Make sure that's right. Sure looks like it. Then there we go. Oh, tell me it's not cool. Even though I'm using this servo tester here, I do have other plans for all of this. Turn this off actually. But the goal with the Zacklift idea is that this is going to remain separate from the truck, power-wise. So basically, I don't have to unplug or plug this thing into the truck to get it to work. It will literally just be drive up, do the wing nuts up, lock the fifth wheel, turn on a battery, and then it's going to do its own thing. On that incredibly happy note, I'm going to end it here. Been on this all day. Trying to figure all this stuff out has been quite tricky, but doable. Next week, we will just keep continuing on finishing this. Like right now, it's just a frame and a boom. So got a lot of stuff that needs to happen here. But for now, that's going to be it for the day. Thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. We do have a members area if you'd like to join. It does help out the channel a lot, so I would greatly appreciate it. It all goes towards builds like this because you guys are my sponsors, essentially. So thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you next week.